Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you clicking on this video and stopping by for another edition of what I'm creating here in my sewing space at Tribeca Designs. Today, I hope that you'll be inspired by what I'm going to be sharing with you. This video is all about shearing. This technique of making an elasticized portion of your garment. For this one example, it's on the waist. Shearing can be done anywhere on a garment of your choice. It can be done, ooh, at the cuffs. Wouldn't that be pretty? Oh my, I must. It could be done anywhere on the garment that you could imagine. So I'm gonna share a quick tutorial with you guys on how I acquired this look. If you like the video, would you consider subscribing, turning on your notification bells, and telling your other friends who love fashion and sewing related content to come and join the family? So why don't we go ahead and do some shearing, one stitch at a time. Okay, my sewing friends, to get started, all you're gonna need is an empty bobbin and this elasticized thread. It's what I call it. It comes in a spool like this. I picked this up for Hobby Lobby for like $1.99. This is what the packaging looks like from the one that I purchased at Hobby Lobby. And yeah, they call it sewing thread elastic. But you can also pick this up at any retailer that sells sewing supplies, Walmart, Michaels, of course, Joann's, etc., etc. You're gonna go through quite a bit of this fairly quickly, so you may want to pick up a couple of packages, or you may want to try purchasing some on Amazon. I will provide a link in the description box below. So I just go ahead and I insert this end through the little hole that's at the top of my bobbin. Depending on your bobbin, you may not need to do this, but I like to do that. To get started, I just kind of hold that with my fingers, and you do have to hand wind your bobbin for this elastic. I do not recommend trying to use the bobbin winder on your sewing machine. So I'm just kind of loosely winding this, making sure that I don't stretch as I'm winding. I'm just winding it with really no tension at all. A shearing we will go, a shearing we will go. Hi ho, yo Dario, a shearing we will go. So I will go ahead and probably load up, depending on your project. I like to just go ahead and load up about 3 to 4 bobbins, so that as I'm in the middle of my project, I don't have to stop and do any more hand winding, because the sewing for this is somewhat monotonous. All you're going to be doing is sewing straight rows on your sewing machine. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we get started, I do want to show off my latest t-shirt. I love it. Yeah, honey child, I do have a retirement plan. I engage in my retirement account every day because, you know, sewing is my retirement plan. So if you're interested in picking up this t-shirt, go ahead and click the link in the description box. You're welcome. Okay, friends, for demonstration purposes, I'm going to use a piece of leftover fabric to talk about how I came up with my measurements for the skirt. Now, mine is a shorter skirt that falls directly at my knees. So, of course, I just took a measurement from my high waist all the way down to my knees for the length. But for the width, I went and measured the circumference of my waist, which is 34. And I just did 1.5 times that. Some people do double. You can do double depending on how many gathers you want. And some people do less. But I've tried doing double, and the skirt was just way too big. It took a lot for me to try to get those gathers to be tighter. So for me, 1.5 times my waist measurement works best. So again, 1.5 times your waist measurement plus the length that you want it from where you want it to fall on your waist, whether that be high, regular, or low waist, down to the ankle, down to the knee, above the knee, whatever length you desire. That's what I use for my measurement. And then I just took the edge, the top edge, and finished it with a serging stitch. You can do a double fold hem at the top if you don't want that serged edge to show. I didn't choose this option because I thought it might be a little bit thicker at the top, but really it won't. It will be lovely. It will be fine. So you can do that as an option. You can do a double fold, or you can just finish this off with your serger and allow that to be the top of your skirt. And then go to the sewing machine and just sew several rows. You determine the spacing. I'll show you what I did, but let's just go ahead and do that now. Hey friends, I've already serged the edge of my fabric and I've started my first row of shearing here, but I do want to give you a quick heads up. You should give this a try on a scrap piece of fabric first because you may have to adjust your stitch length and the tension on your machine so that it yields the results that you want. Mine didn't require any adjustments to the tension or length, but I just wanted to give you a heads up to go ahead and practice on a scrap piece of fabric first. I'm going to try to demonstrate up close what I'm doing on the sewing machine. So here I have my raw edge, which would be serged. Then I have just like a straight edge to show you for demonstration purposes. Then I have the gathered edge. So as you're shearing or sewing with the elastic in your bobbin, your thread is going to begin to gather like this. So when you come in on your second row, you want to make sure you have your next line straight. So what I do is I just use the edge of my presser foot as my guide, and I just keep it up against the previous stitching line. Now, if you don't want your rows to be that close, you can come away and sew down. But I just like to keep mine close. It takes longer to do it that way, but I think it makes for a flatter finish. So again, this part is just to show you that when I'm stitching down, I'm keeping the edge of my presser foot against the previous row. You don't have to do yours that way again. You can come out and stitch down. But you will also have to gradually pull so that as you're stitching, you don't catch any puckers. So you want your fabric to be nice and flat. So you're going to gradually pull your elasticized portion away to open that up a little bit to make sure that as your foot is coming down the row, it doesn't sew and create a pucker. It doesn't bunch up like that. I hope that makes sense. And here we are, 18 rows later. And so this is what it looks like on the right side. And on the wrong side, looks very professional. It's nice and stretchy, and it's just going to make a lovely skirt. Okay, friends, here is the completed skirt on my mannequin princess, and you can see all of the details of the lovely shearing 18 rows later, and it just looks just fine with the serged edge here. You could also turn this under and do a zigzag stitch if you don't like the look of this ruffled edge, or gathered edge, or you can turn this under before you start to stitch. You do have options there. You can even add a waistband, an elasticized one, of course. But yeah, just to kind of give you a quick little demo for how you can achieve this look. This skirt has a little petticoat underneath. I actually sheared the lining as well and then stitched them together. I attached them using a zigzag stitch right here. You really can't tell, but the stitching is a little bit different because I made two shirred skirts and stitched them together. So if you like the look of this skirt and the beautiful blouse that I made to wear with it, be sure and click on the link in the description box below. I have a video titled Sew Your Own Clothes, What I'll Be Wearing for Spring, where I talk about this lovely outfit in its entirety. Thank you guys for watching. Happy sewing and peace and blessings. Mwah.